And so we're going to start right away. Good morning, everybody. I'm so sorry that it's this hot. I'm already dying. I don't know about the rest of you. I don't know how you can have layers on, right?
I know. It's true.
If you get up and walk out, I will understand. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. The meeting, we did post it in the hallway on the bulletin board, so we know that we've got that handled. We do have a quorum. We have 4 of our board of directors here, and then we have Brian Bateson on the phone. And I will introduce Brian a little bit later, but he is the 5th one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do an approval of our April 20th meeting minutes. No, that's the wrong thing. We're the May 25th meeting. Okay, and somebody want to?
I move we approve the minutes.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so all are in favor of that. Then we did May 15th meetings that had to do with a meeting that we had with Rossway, which John Stewart, who is our attorney on the FES litigation. We can't make those minutes public because it's pending litigation, but there really wasn't anything done there other than saying that we would move forward with the litigation. So that's what the minutes say. The minutes will be public once the litigation is to a public level, but we're not there yet. Okay, but all that those minutes said was that we had agreed after talking with John Stewart, our counsel, Don was in that meeting, I was in that meeting, and Eileen Considine was in that meeting, that we agreed that we want to move forward because there's a lot at stake there, and if we can recover some dollars, we'd like to be able to do so. Okay, so that's what happened there. Next, we have the treasurer's report from Ann.
Yes, we are in good shape financially in terms of our reserves. We have over $535,000 in reserves, which is excellent. We also are beginning to accrue interest to our reserve account. We're hoping to use this accrued interest where we've been able to increase our earnings on our reserves so that we will be able to fund 2 new reserve line items in the current year without any increase in maintenance by using this interest earnings. And those reserve items would be for structural, so that we don't need to come for an assessment every time we have structural issues. And the other would be for the garage, so that when we have things that need to be done in the garage, and I think all of you are aware that there are a number of things remaining in the garage to be done. We are currently negotiating with 2 banks, Marine Bank and Trust and Chester State Bank, to see which one will provide the highest rate of return on our operating accounts and on the accruing reserve accounts. So we'll be hoping to increase our earnings there. Are there questions on that?
I have a question on the Vanguard account. The revenue we get from that, what is that? Is that just?
It goes into line item 5080. Which is part of the reserves. So the way that the earnings on all of our reserves go is they go into the reserve account and are proportioned among the reserve line items.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, can I comment 2 things? One, I'd like to thank you for the work you've done on this because we are generating a higher level of return now, so that is wonderful. The second thing is, as you mentioned those 2 lines that we'd like to set up for reserves, we will bring that up for the owners to all take a look at the time that we do the budget. But the hope for that is, as Ann said, that we'll be able to accumulate the dollars over time and not have to do assessments to the level that we've been having to do them in the past.
Do we have any idea as to how much it might potentially be? How much we might earn?
Yes, I would estimate that this year we should earn around $10,000 on our reserves, and I'm hoping to push that up to $15,000 over a longer term. So this is not a trivial amount of money.
No, it's great. Thanks.
Okay, any questions for Ann?
Sam.
Sam?
Do you have any particular goal of reserves you want? Or you just want to where you want to build them to?
Well, I actually do not have a goal for reserves. As I said, it's a good question. What I would like to over the longer term is to put us in a position where the only items that require special assessments are hurricanes and other natural disasters, which we simply cannot predict. But we would like to, over the longer term, be able to catch up on the deferred maintenance. And once we catch up on the deferred maintenance, we have adequate reserves to continually keep up with what needs to be done so that our reserves and our operating take care of all expenses.
Do you have a suggestion as to that amount?
No, I have not done a spreadsheet on that. I don't think this is the time to do that spreadsheet. Although we started last year changing our reserves to the recommended lifespan of each item. The reserves had said lifespans were much longer than they were.
What would a good time be?
I'm sorry?
What would a good time be?
A good time to do that, I think, is when we catch up with the deferred maintenance, and I can see exactly where we're going in terms of replacement and operating.
Thank you very much, that's great.
You're very welcome.
Okay, anything else for Ann? Okay, we'll move to Christine for the AR choice.
Okay, some of these items are going to come up under the updates, but I'll just.
Okay, well, we'll put them over to the updates then.
Okay. I just want to let you know that Stroh Construction, who are the people that bid on and won the bid on the backside of the gatehouse.
Right.
He won't be able to start until August.
That's
That's
what
how
we
backed
were
up
told,
he was, so I think I didn't tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave the hangers until that report.
Mhm.
The tree survey,
Yes.
I finally got everything yesterday.
Yay.
I just have to have, Josh has to come into the office and sign it, we have to get it notarized. And then there's a $132 amount that has to go to the town for the permit application, and Josh is going to have to take it over there since it's his,
Okay.
So I have it all ready for him to sign.
Is he aware of all of this?
I spoke to him, yes. Concrete work, we'll get to that. Crime engineering.
Who Josh is?
Josh is the owner of Team Green.
Thank you very much.
I think that was it, other than the wind mitigation report. Wind mitigation was done. We're just waiting on the report, but he won't release that report until we pay him.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
The problem with that is we have no idea what we are expecting, but we have not even seen a page one of the report, so I would suggest that he provide us either with a page one or a template.
Or a draft.
Or a draft, so that we have some way of evaluating whether this is the kind of report that our owners and the board needs to adequately protect the building.
Yeah, if he could give us a draft, that would be great, because then we get an idea of how that's set up. Does that work for you?
That would-
Okay.
I'll ask him. The rest.
And the same thing on the air conditioning, we need the editable file.
Yeah, I asked him for that, and he hasn't given it to me. I asked him several weeks ago for that.
I think you have to sort of put it on your weekly to-do list, send message, send
Typical.
updated editable report.
Okay.
Okay.
The rest of the things are all.
And we've got the ratification of previously approved proposals.
Yes. We have coal kit, coal kit for the new AC unit. That was $39.57 that was approved prior, it's already been done. So we need a motion to approve that, to ratify it.
I move that we approve the coal kit bill.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next one was also coal kit for the new condensing coil 15-2024. That was approved at the same time.
What unit did that go in?
That was one of the, let me see if he has it here.
Isn't that the common area?
Oh, it's common area, yeah.
That was the
Which
common.
common area? We've got 12 units.
I've got it written on that list.
It was the one up on the roof of 5670.
The replacement was 5670 first floor.
and how they work in that little.
It was the first.
It was the first floor.
Okay, great.
How they work in that little
Christie,
space.
Don, do first floor, 5670.
Okay,
That the editable report will have to reflect that there's a new compressor.
yes. Yeah, when I talked to him, he told me that he could update it. And then the third one was the 2640 for the 2 pipes in the garage at 5690.
But that's Jake, that's
That's
not
Jake,
Colcat.
that's Florida Fire and Backup.
Right, okay, I move that we go ahead with that. Anybody?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so all of those are done? Okay, so now we move to our updates on the hallway renovation update. I'm going to give that update because there's really no update other than what Edward has given us the last time. But what the update is that we're pulling numbers together to be able to put a proposal out to the owners to vote on whether or not they want to move forward with an assessment for that. We will be doing that probably sometime in July, hopefully sooner as opposed to later so that we can get that feedback and hopefully get started on things. Anybody have any questions on that? Anything you want to add to that as the liaison?
No, I think that what you'll be seeing is what you have seen a number of times before at the various committee meetings of the hallway renovation committee and what Edward presented. My understanding is that there will be a choice of carpets, and people can vote on which type of carpet or which design of carpet they wish. That other things will be more or less set because we need to get prices. And these are things that you've seen presented. That are things like the ceiling tiles and things like the lighting. The assessment that I believe the board will be recommending is $500,000 total.
Yeah, I don't know, have any of you seen or gone to look at the ceiling tiles that he's recommending that he installed in the 5680 building?
I think he's saying.
Yes.
No, I think they're still up, at least they were still up the other day.
They're still-
But it's really worth going to take a look at because while they're there, you can compare them to what we currently have as what it's gonna look like. My biggest issue with that is in the 5690 building, their metal lines in between each tile have all rusted. And so it's the kind of thing that we have to really pay attention to when we want to be sure that you're all comfortable with the tiles. These cover up a lot of that metal line so you don't see it. So it looks so much more like a finished ceiling, if you know what I mean, like a sheetrock ceiling as opposed to.
That's up in the front.
It's up in the front. If you go in the front door and you turn to your right and you're going to the mailbox, you look up and you'll see there's 4 of them there that look a little bit different than the other ones and they're worth looking at.
In 56.
80.
Right by our mail room.
Yeah.
So when you go to the mailroom, just come out and look up and you'll see them.
Let's if we go on. Are you gonna do, where you're suggesting to put down tiles for the elevators, for instance?
You mean travertine tile?
Or sort of a tile getting off the elevator or something?
Yes. You're talking about when you get off the elevator?
Yeah, get on the hill.
Yes.
Are you doing the same thing in all 3 buildings?
Yes.
Although I
Well, do
think
you
we're-
understand that in the 5670 building, 5690 building, we already have some there. So the question is whether or not we should expand it or not. Yeah. At this point, everything's being treated exactly the same.
The same renovations as.
Yes. Yes.
And the goal the last time,
That's good.
I'm not a member of the committee, but I'm the liaison to the hall renovation committee. And the last discussions I was privy to on that was that there will be input from the owners in 5670, 5680, and 5690 on exactly how any additions to tiling or travertine would be handled.
Thank you very much. That's good.
And one thing I'd just like to bring up is Edward loves to talk about this stuff. No, he really does. So if you have questions, and he's not saying that you have to wait for a meeting. You can come and talk to him. You can call him.
How
He
did we get
really.
in touch with it?
How do you get in touch with him?
door. 113.
But he has an open door policy.
But yeah, but the other thing is too, is a lot of his stuff is in the unit that he lives in, so he has it there to show.
You can.
And they serve nice snacks.
And visually being a French woman, good woman.
Okay. Don, do you want to give us a landscaping committee update?
I sent it over.
Well, I sent out to the board on the 25th of June a memo giving a cost comparison on two companies, Arbor Trace, excuse me, and Island Arbor and East Coast, to trim the sea grapes and different things around here.
In the ocean.
I talked about the different areas and the costs that's associated, and I have not received a full response from the board as to what we want to do, want to go forward.
Oh, Don, I thought what you did was excellent. Pulling all that material together was wonderful, and I've now put it in a spreadsheet, so one of the dangers of being a numbers person is you put things in spreadsheets.
Love
right?
it, love it.
And so wait, may I finish and then?
Yes.
And so looking at that, and I think you and I are in agreement, the highest priority item we have is trying to get rid of some of the invasive species on the north side of the building. Particularly, there's a very large Brazilian pepper, and I gather some, I think you call them toothache trees?
Toothache.
And then there's also some carrot wood over there, and invasive vines, which are everywhere. And as I looked at what you quoted, you have the costs for the taking out of those, or at least the taking out of the Brazilian peppers, but not the other things. But you don't have the cost of replacement plants. And when I look back at, we have a report, which I would recommend any of you who have not seen it, take a look at it, from the University of Florida Extension on our landscaping and how our landscaping should be handled. And in that report, Nikki Haley recommended a number of native plants as potential replacements for that Brazilian pepper. So I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but my thought would be to get a full cost for that north side work and then see where we are, because we're already over on landscape expenditures so far this year.
Can I just interject something? We have received an anonymous contribution for the replacement of some of the plants over there, and they do not want they're one of our owners. They do not want their name given out, but they will cover the cost of doing some of the replacements there. They're trying to keep us on budget, so they've asked me. You start bringing this up, and I'm thinking they don't want to have any. I was going to do it quietly with Don and say you can include that there, and we will do that. And so some of that's going to be picked up by a judge.
But we still need a number.
Yes, we still need a number.
But you're absolutely right. And I think that we have to avoid another fiasco like we still have on the northwest section. And there's no excuse whatsoever, in my opinion, and it's not a humble opinion, as you know.
I know that, Sam.
There's absolutely no excuse forever, and I mean ever, Don taking stuff down without having the plans decided on by the committee, on hand, and be able to pay for them, so that we don't go through what we've done to this beautiful piece of property on the northwest section.
Sam,
It's an absolute disgrace what happened.
Sam, I think that we need to let history be history. And my own push is to always have the plans in hand. And that's why I'm recommending that we not move forward in this until we have a full budget for removal and replacement.
Well, you know, while we're just be honest with and open with each other, that's the only way I know how to operate. I've been upset for quite some time. There's some people who just think they can plant whatever they want around here. I think that's a disgrace. If one person can do it, then everybody should be able to do it. We're all here together. We're all equal. So why do some people think they could do it? We don't have a committee meeting. There was some planning going on about the pool. Who authorized that? It was never brought up to the committee. What individual? If one person has that right, then we all have that right to plan what we want, where we want. And I think that's a bad tactic to have.
And I think that there isn't any disagreement with you on that, Sam. That's been reviewed. So what we're talking about doing is doing a 2- and 3-year plan so all owners can look at it, make sure that it works with what they want to do, and have the committee take a look at it and
But
put it
it doesn't
together.
seem to matter, because then certain individuals go around here and plan what they want where they want it.
You know, he's right.
Yes, I know.
From my 7th floor, I can see everything. Unfortunately, I can see everything. And I see people planting and cutting and carrying little carriage back of the other person who cut to put the branch in and going away. And I feel terrible because I know who it is and I'm not going to tell who it is. But it's constant and it's very upsetting.
It's not acceptable.
It is absolutely right. A previous board at some point said, passed a rule or law or something to say that we had to stop doing our own individual planting, that if we wanted to plant anything, we had to go to the board landscape.
It still is that way.
But it's not being observed, as you know, Don.
I didn't hear you now. What did you say?
I do approve various plantings. I'm the board liaison to the landscape committee. They come to me.
Why have a committee then?
Well, we have a committee, Marie and I, and
You
Mr.
are
Adler, you would have never asked any of our opinion. That's right.
Never.
Ask her,
That's right.
ask him, ask me.
I believe
You
the last-
never contact us, ever. So I wonder, what is your role as a landscape committee member?
What's your role as chairman?
What's your role?
You unilaterally make decisions. You have done, I respect you tremendously for your service and what you've done for America as a person. I mean, but what right has anybody got to approve anything except through a committee? And the committee should be, to be frank with you,
We
the
really,
committee should be reappointed.
Okay.
Because if people from here with all ideas, and that's how you blossom in a business. You get ideas of everybody, and
Absolutely.
everybody gives a little, and they become a unit. That doesn't happen here. You have individuals that go around on their own, and evidently Don approves it, and I disagree with that, Don, and I don't mean it in any disrespect.
Sam, it's all. You are you, and you are me. I have something else to say.
Yes,
First of all, I want to say something positive for a change.
thank you. Thank you.
It's so nice to be able to say something wonderful. It's about John. He's the most wonderful maintenance man we ever had in 28 years of my career.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody agrees.
And I call him all the time on it. Because from my 3rd floor, I can see everything.
No more skinny dipping. Well, thank you.
You know, I try to put the blind down because I get tired.
Micheline, I think you have set a wonderful precedent. For too long, I have heard mostly negative things. And I think there are many positive things going on at Victoria.
Absolutely.
And I would hope that we could come together and talk about the positive as well as the
Yes.
negative.
Yes, And to have a man like John is so important to this building. So thank you so much, Christine,
He's a perfect fit.
to have a found this guy.
Bob Payson, thank you for joining the board.
No, I need
I'll get to Brian.
I have to say
He's on our
something else.
agenda.
I have to say, and then I will shut up.
Okay. Let's use the word, then I'll be quiet.
You introduced me as the mayor of Victoria.
To my son.
To her son, she introduced me as the mayor of
Well, you are.
You're so charming. Well, anyway, I have been heartbroken to see all these beautiful flowers that we had all winter just pulled out, because it's a time to pull things out. They were still in full glory. They have been so faithful all winter because John had put a watering hose to both flower beds. So this Marsha, when I came through the gate, said, "Don't be angry, it's going to be replaced." I told them, Michel is going to be angry. He has been replaced with pretty dull stuff, but he's there. In one bed. Can't we afford 2 beds for the summer? For you and me? I'm sorry?
The other bed, right, coming into the garage on the left-hand side.
One flower bed has been replanted, not the other one. The other one is plain black dirt.
The one when you
Coming into the garage.
When you come into the garage, if you took an immediate left, it would be right there.
Right now, it's too hot.
Right, and our issue was we were holding off because of the heat, and that was what was killing our
Oh,
impatience.
no, that's not true.
Okay,
We have some plant last year and it did beautifully.
What did
Now
we use?
it
Do you
is
remember?
watered every day,
Well,
and they will do very
maybe we
well.
get another anonymous builder to pay for the flowers.
Do you remember what was
Because the money-
just
Pincas can be used.
We don't have the money for it.
We're over budget on landscape.
How much would it cost?
I don't know.
Well, please let me know.
Okay,
Well, the cost for the fence.
and do you want to pick the plant, or are you happy with what we've got out front for the summer?
That's fantasy.
I would like to pick the plant to have the guy talk to me.
Okay,
Who is that, Josh?
yes, but it would go through Don, because we're trying to get Josh to stop talking to individuals, because that becomes some of the issue.
All right, so will you please come with him so I
Well,
can...
you just tell me what plants you want.
I don't know what's available.
You know, in the
He
summer,
has to tell me what's available.
in the summer, they generally use pentas, which you see up there, which are not very vibrant. But vincas are also a summer plant, and they're more like the impatiens. You have a much brighter
Let's
color
put
to them.
vincas.
So,
Let's
the vincas might work.
Absolutely, I'm sure with it.
Okay.
You might want to look at a picture of them.
So even with the water, the impatiens wouldn't have lasted?
No, and that was part of the issue,
Patients are terrible this
that was
time.
part of the issue John was
Exactly,
having,
general,
the
we should be
underneath
using it. They
was getting all disgusting.
And make
They
it
take a lot of
manual.
water too.
They take a lot of.
Yes,
The vincas will do that. They'll
so it's a deal?
It's a deal.
It's a deal.
It's a deal. Yes, Marie?
I've noticed that the grass seems to be getting brown.
Yeah.
Dead on the, particularly the south side.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering what the problem might be. Are they cutting the grass too short? Are they not, is it not getting irrigated enough?
Well, John had a meeting with Josh about that twice now, because he's shown him that they're not raising the mower when they hit that area that has a little bit of a tilt.
It looks
And that's what keeps turning brown. So John actually walked the property there with Josh the other day.
Oh, good.
He's turned on the sprinklers a little more to get it some water to try to bring it back. But he's been very clear with Josh that they've got to pull that up a little bit more. And not just there, but also when you pull into the garage, sort of behind where your parking is and where my parking is,
Yes.
they're cutting that with a weed whacker. And it's very inconsistent, and so he's pointed that out to him too. Another one of the benefits of John is he really looks at this property as his own, and he's very particular.
And he has even said that he will be here during the hurricane.
He's staying here.
Which, we've never had someone, and I guess Ron offered him a bed.
He's one of them.
But that is absolutely happening, and John picked up on it immediately, and I don't know if you've noticed, but certainly from the third floor, you've probably seen.
I see, and I opened my window and I told you
Right, but you've probably seen that the sprinklers are going on over there at a time different from everything else, and that's because he's trying to bring that grass back.
We really have to concentrate on it because of the summer heat and the drought possible.
Exactly.
And eventually hurricane, but we have to maintain it as much as we can.
But I have to say, as a whole, the lawn looks so much better. So much better.
More than that.
There was an irrigation.
Right.
Than a year ago.
Oh, okay.
It should be better.
Don just added that there was an irrigation problem over there too, that John finally got fixed yesterday. But he picks up on all of that stuff. And just so you all know, the board is also very grateful for John, and Don had brought along the fact, and Christine had brought along the fact that he was being undercompensated for his work. So we did increase his compensation, because we really want to hold on to John.
Absolutely.
Wow, good, he deserves it.
Good for you.
Don't need to go looking for another John.
Lizzie, I haven't finished.
Oh, okay.
There is a proposal, or I've asked Christine to check on the removal of the pepper tree as well as the vines around there. She's going to contact the company to do that, hopefully get that done quickly. As a replacement plan for our tree, I would suggest the silver buttonwood, which is it has silver foliage plants, and it has color contrast, beauty with all the green in a landscape. It can look almost white in a landscape or take on a bluish cast. These plants are especially effective when planted in combination with red, pink, purple, blue, and white flowering plants. There's a green variety, but the silver is much showier and therefore more popular with homeowners. So that's what we're looking
How
at.
high do they cap it? How quickly do they grow, please?
It's a fast growing, it goes up to
It's 15 to 20,
15 to 25 feet. 15
15
to
to
25.
25. And it's a fast-growing plant. It's one of the ones recommended by Nikki from the walk around that she
Is that to put on the north side?
This is to put on the north
But
side.
you won't be able to cut it down when the people on the first floor are going to complain that, because.
But it doesn't, it's not going where you're looking at the water. It's going to separate us from the fountains. So they'll be very happy about that.
Oh, really good.
Right. But yes, you're correct. We
Thank
have
you,
to
Doc.
watch what we do there. I'm not blocking.
And I have a question about cutting the cigarette. Which cigarette?
Which
You
one?
say cutting the cigarette. Which cigarette do you want to cut?
Which sea grapes?
Yeah.
All these sea grapes around this part of the building here are too close together.
Oh, I see.
They should be trimmed, and when we take those out, then we put them on the dunes. However, this is not the time of the year
No,
to
it's
put
not.
too.
Right.
No.
But they're whoever planted those was planted them too close together.
And we're going to thin those out. Micheline did save a couple of dollars by taking some of those and putting them up here on the dunes.
We have to wait until the.
Absolutely. So we're going to let them continue to grow there now, but then we'll do that instead of buying some new ones and hopefully save a couple of dollars and put them where they can help us out and then allow these to grow the way they want to grow. And right now they're growing into each other.
One last thing. This weekend, I hope to distribute through the Landscape Committee as well as the Beach and Dunes Committee a landscape plan. It's 2018 to 2020. Some recommendations as to what should be done. I'm going to pass it out to the committee members. Please review, comment back to me regarding it. So,
Thank you.
okay?
And then this
Now,
will,
the references are that Mickey Monroe document, I hope you've read that.
Yes.
I passed these to every one of you, the committee members, and there were a couple other ones. We also referenced the current contract that we have with the landscape guy, and we also reference some other items that you probably won't need, but at least they're referenced in there. Some comments that some people have made. There's a comment made by Rock City Garden, a woman that came here a couple of years ago and toured the grounds, and her comment. I've incorporated all that, and with other recommendations and some things and so forth. So please take a look at it. I break it down into 6 sectors. I talk about the northwest sector, which is out there by the A1A, the northeast sector, or the east sector over here on the other side of the building, the dunes, and the pool, the south sector, and the entrances sector. So it's broken down into sectors as to what we have there now, what future plans and so forth. So please take a look at it. It's a draft. It's there to be corrected and changed, and you're looking for your ideas.
Good.
Okay, and then you be as critical as you want to be about it. That's fine.
I have one other thing.
Yeah.
I know Don just mentioned, and he sent me over the request to get East Coast Tree Service to remove the pepper tree and the plants around it, which was like $700.
Yes.
But if I do that, without a plan to put something in right away or an approval, it's gonna be a gaping hole there.
No, we have to have the plan, we have to have the order, we have to have a delivery
That's my
date
point.
as soon as possible to put something in.
and
That's my point.
we can get that worked out with what Don's circulating
Plan
right
right
now.
now, my suggestion, my recommendation is to put the silver button with it.
Okay, so we need to approve that so that I can.
Any problems
Get a
with the
plan.
silver button wood?
Is that a 15
So
gallon?
Christine, I think before we approve that, we need to have a price for the silver button wood, and we need to incorporate that.
Well, I checked with Busy Bee, a 6-foot tree, which is not much, is like $60.
Well, what about a 12-foot tree?
Well, then, let's double it, triple it. So,
I think we would
I
need
would
to
say
come up with.
something like $500. Get it fixed.
Okay, so why don't we do that?
One person is gonna anonymously.
They're gonna take it.
That's not fun.
Okay. So my understanding from Dawn is that the anonymous people are going to take care of the replacement. Dawn has contacted Busy Bee Nursery, which is the nursery over on US 1, what we've used in the past, and that it will cost under $500 to get a very large tree.
That's an estimate. I mean, I don't have a quick quote.
They usually come in gallons, so 15 gallons is usually about the biggest you can get.
And how tall would the 50?
Depends on the tree.
Yeah.
It would normally be about 10 feet, right? 15 gallons would be about.
So does Busy Bee deliver, and are they gonna put it in? Because this is.
No, I probably have to contact Botanical Concept. They're the ones that put in the viburnum bushes as well.
So Botanical Concept,
Yes.
are they the same as Busy Bee? They're in a million?
They work with them, but they're not the same company. But they do business with Busy Bee.
When do you want to speak?
So they would do delivery.
How many do we need?
One.
We're gonna just
Right
put one tree there.
Where?
Replace it. On the north where the pepper tree is currently that's coming out.
As soon as possible.
Don, do we have any plans to replace or to add some sea grapes to the dunes here before the hurricane season?
I don't know before the hurricane, well, we're in the hurricane season
I
now.
know, that's why I was trying to encourage us.
The
to do it
recommendation
before.
is not to plant during this too hot. That's what this
So we
is.
have to wait till it
We
blows.
should have done it earlier.
And the problem is, I have an estimate to do the dunes. I also have an estimate to clean up the area in the south part there that needs to be cleaned up. There's some debris in there and it's all, well, we don't want to clean that up and then wait until the weather is good to plant the seed. Because by then, the weeds will go back in. So I'm going to coordinate it and do it all at the same time. Do the dunes, clean up that mess, and then plant the seed grapes. And I'm trying to determine when the best is to plant the seed grapes. It may not be during the hurricane season, maybe in November or something like
Yeah,
that.
it's going to be the end of the season now, because it's too late.
And it's just too hot to
Yeah, it's too hot, too dry. Hopefully we'll get through it.
Okay, any questions for John? I love the idea of getting the 2- and 3-year plan out there so that we can comment. And then all the things that you want to be able to see over time, this is where we put that in and incorporate that into the plan so we all have something to follow. No matter who's on the landscaping committee, no matter who's on the board, that you guys have come up with what it is you want. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you, John.
Okay, if it's all right with you guys, I want to combine the garage pipe hangers with the structural repairs update. I want to cover that in number 11 when we talk about the special assessment approval. So instead, I think right now we'll go to the wind mitigation update. Okay, yeah, so we're waiting to get a draft from him to see if it's something that we approve of in terms of its form. It was one of the questions you had asked, Maria, are we going to get individual reports back and all? So we want to see specifically what he has available to us before we pay him.
Okay.
So that's where we are on that. So we'll go to number 9, the appointment of a director. Eileen got to the point where in her private legal practice, she was just being overwhelmed. And she was having a hard time.
For your file.
She was having some difficulty keeping up with being attentive to her private practice while also being attentive to the Victoria and her responsibilities here. So she had asked if it would be okay if she resigned. We first said no, of course it's not okay. But she convinced us that she really needed to do it and that she was, very apologetic. And we certainly understand what her situation was. So we wanted to do a replacement that would be the same background that she had. So we went with Brian Bateson. Hello, Brian, who's on the phone.
Congratulations.
Okay. Okay. Just like Eileen, he is a working professional. Just like Eileen, he's living in New York. Just like Eileen, he's got to be careful about how much time he puts into everything. He has agreed to come on the board, very much to my thanks. We did not have, people have said to me, why didn't you take some of the people who had run before? We didn't have anybody that ran before. If you all remember, back in January, the 5 of us who were on the board because nobody else ran. So there wasn't a group to go to. Brian has agreed to do this through the end of the year, and then he'll have to decide whether or not it's worth it for him to run again or not. But I want to welcome you, Brian. Thank you very much for the attention you've already given to everything. Brian's background is quite interesting. He was actually a financial gentleman and then switched over to the medical profession. Why you would do that, I don't know, but he appears to be very happy with his decision. He is an anesthesiologist up in New York, and he brings a lot to the board. And certainly for Ann, I am not a good person for Ann to be able to bounce things off of because I am not a numbers person. So she has Brian now that she could talk to about some of the ideas that she has that are bigger than I'm able to absorb.
Yes, Brian, I'm going to look forward to working with you, particularly on getting our reserve situation where it should be.
Well, I look forward to working with you, and thank you for the kind words, Liz.
You're welcome. Does anybody have any questions for Brian?
Are you still gonna have time to play tennis?
What's his last name?
Bateson. Bateson, B-A-T-E-S-O-N. He's on the first floor of your building?
114. 114 Mission.
Last name is Brian.
Right by the mail room. And he's been an owner, his parents own the unit and he owned the unit, so he's been here, I think, for 3 years.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to put Brian on the board? Second. All in favor? Aye. Lisa, did you get that with our friend Christy? Thank you, Liz. Okay. Well, welcome, Brian. Okay, next we're we're going to go to the adoption of the amended rules and regulations. Those have been sent out to everybody. We've never formally adopted it, so we're going to do that today. Is there anybody who has not gotten their copy of the directory as well as the rules and regulations? Okay, Lisa, you can put down that everybody here can get there. I move to accept those as they've been printed and distributed. Anybody want to second? Everybody in favor? Say aye. Thank you very much. You know, and I am going to say, even though she's not here, Diana Stark did a tremendous amount of work on pulling that together. And she is continuing that work right now, going to the very last part of what we have as rules and regulations, looking at our construction/renovation rules and regulations. People believe that we have some, we really don't. We have some guidelines that we do, but we really need to get something formalized. So she has got her committee continuing. It's the same group that worked on the rules and regulations. A lot of what we'll talk about in those carries over into the renovation rules. So that will be continuing. There will be a survey going out, as always, to ask our owners what they like. That will get tallied. And then we will move to getting something sent out to everybody to then take a look at. This will take a little bit longer than usual because we're talking about the summertime and a lot of the people on that committee are not in residence right now. Okay, but that is continuing. And thank you, Diana, who I know has friends coming and family coming, so she is tied up. Okay, so we'll take the garage pipe hangers and the structural repairs and we'll combine that with number 11, our special assessment approval. And we have some copies of that. Do you have those copies there that we can hand out to the group here? What this is right now, or did you give those to me?
Right there. Underneath your agenda.
No?
Right there.
I think I was, there we go. Thank you, Lisa.
13 or 14 of them there.
I think that's enough for this group. These will be going out by email as well as going out in the U.S. Post mail. But what it is all the things that we've been talking about, the hangers that are holding up the pipes, the sprinkler pipes that corroded and needed to be replaced, some of the sewer lines that we're dealing with. These are all the items in the garage. And the garage is always going to have issues, which is part of what Ian's concerned about in terms of getting reserves established, is that we're always going to have situations where that stuff is going to corrode because we're living on salt water. Not a thing we can do about it. We had started on this, and we all had approved that a couple months ago in the garage, but the work is much more extensive than where we thought we were going to be. As they worked on replacing some of those hangers, they keep finding more and more that need to be replaced. Maria, I don't know if you noticed that they came and did the section over your automobile, but you had a sewer line there that had not one hanger still up. And this kind of stuff, as you see it, as they start doing the work and you go to look at the work they've done, you start seeing the work that hasn't been done. So we have put into this assessment the dollars to allow Jake to continue his work. He's not doing the whole garage. There are some hangers that are still in good shape, but we are doing the majority of this garage. This is something that was done about 10 years ago, once again through an assessment. So it's obviously one of those things that's going to come up every so often, which is why Ian is very sensitive to the idea of establishing some sort of a reserve. So even if we did have to do an assessment again, it would never be the dollars that we've been exposed to in the past. And we're certainly not at those dollars this time either. Also in this assessment is we have 2 units, 113 that is occupied by Chad and Edward. And I don't know Mrs. Turley, 209, Mrs. Turley's unit, that some of us in the past have had it dealt with on our units where we've had the concrete crumbling and we've had some issues with the underlying rebar rotting. So those need to be dealt with. That is the structure of our building. And whether it's in my unit or in Lisa's unit or in anybody else's unit, it's the responsibility of the association to keep our structure safe. And to keep it to the point where we can keep working forward. Yeah.
I think I have some in my here as well.
I'm sorry, you have some in yours as well?
We're 112.
112. Okay, 112. Christine, we'll put that on the list to have that. Are you here all summer or?
For the most part of the summer.
Where is it?
It's on the ceiling. It's where I enclose my patio. It's Coming down from Davis is doing okay.
Oh, okay, so you think it's coming from up above?
It has to, yeah, because it's in the ceiling.
Okay. Can we have that
So
looked
we
at
probably
too?
should check 212 also.
Yeah, so we'll have to check that unit plus your unit. John is very good about staying in contact with people when he's got the engineer to be able to come in, so he will probably call you directly to get that scheduled.
John is a delight.
Thank you. Okay, so there's another one that we may have to deal with on that. And we're also going to put the cupolas into this. Everybody keeps saying to me, Liz, those are part of this building, they need to go back up. We were trying to delay that until we could build up the dollars to do that, but we've come to realize we're never going to build up those dollars. And so we put it into this assessment. Yes, Marie?
I'm just wondering if there's any thought at all of doing, repairing or renovating or improving our floor in this garage. It always looks so dirty and dingy.
Actually, we got 2 estimates to completely resurface the garage floor, which is what needs to be done. But those estimates are over $100,000. And so what we're doing instead is John has spent the last 3 or 4 months exploring different non-toxic chemicals and different machines in order to clean the grease off the floor. So our goal is to, for this year, and he says he will start this the week after July 4th. For this year, we will clean the floors with non-toxic material. We've already unstopped all the drains so that there'll be good drainage. And then I think what we'll probably do is do a rolling resurfacing, so that we'll resurface maybe a third of the garages 1 year and another third and another third until we get a resurfacing. But what's required there is a resurfacing. The other thing that's required, and it's actually Chad who has pointed this out, is that we have carpet by the elevator landings, and that should be probably porcelain tile rather than carpet. And I think at that point, we need to think about rolling into this whole floor issue, putting porcelain tile by the elevator landings.
But the thing that John had looked at is, we've had, I think his name was Mo before? Yes. Mo had looked at doing power washing. And the problem with that John had is it goes all over and there's no way to control it. So it was going to go all up on the walls and it may have gone on people's cars and all. He said, I just can't do that. He's found a machine that he can actually use. It scrubs as he pushes it along. It scrubs and then it soaks it back up. So it allows him to control where the water is going. And it's got to be emptied 1,000,001 times. So it's going to take him a while. But what he has agreed to do, and he's been working with Ann on this, so I'm sure we'll get emails from her, is he's going to take a section at a time. So those cars will have to park someplace else while he works on that section. The other thing is it was part of the reason why we also cut down all the plants around the garage, because they were closing it off and not allowing air to move through. That garage needs constant air, so the plants will be kept at the white cap level so that the air can move through. Sam had suggested that we look into louvers on the garage, and that is something we will do. That a lot of us do not like walking by and seeing the cars in there. And so if we put up those white louvers, still allow air to move through it, but we'll keep the vision from seeing the cars. But for right now, we don't have the dollars to do that, but we needed the air.
Oh, I was just gonna ask about tile. Would it be a non-skid tile? So if it, okay, so there's like this surface out here.
Yeah, in other words, it would be non-skid porcelain.
Okay, all right.
The week of the 16th, I believe, is when John's going to be renting that machine.
Okay.
And he also said that he would have it from a Monday to a Monday, so he said, if I don't finish it, I'll come in Saturday and finish it. While we still have the machine.
Okay, so coming off of the floors and going back to the special go to a vote, this is something that the board has decided to do because it was so critical and we needed to get the engineers booked and all. This is the same engineer we work with each time. In the past, the assessments were, the first one was over 900,000, the second one was over 400,000. This is down to like 65,000, and it includes things other than those. So it's really, I think, very reasonable in terms of the numbers we've seen. The engineers have put it out to bid with the different concrete companies. When all of that gets finalized, that work will begin as soon as possible so that Chad and Edward can get back to the renovation. We asked them to hold off and to stop everything until we could get that looked at. They were still working on their air conditioning, which is fine, because it doesn't interfere at all with what's going on with the concrete. But we asked them not to touch that so that the engineers, and now that you brought yours up, take a look at yours. They need to see all the time what's going on so that they have an idea of how widespread it might be.
Can I interject? I do have the 2 quotes for the 2 units.
Yes, that,
Are we gonna vote on that today?
yes, we are.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so as a matter of fact, Chad's got
I
a
just have a
question.
question on your special assessment, the $10,700 for the cost of pipe hanger replacement, is that now going to be replacing all of the hangers, or is this still just the emergency hangers?
Oh, no, we're beyond the emergency hangers. There, I would say, Chad, if you were asking me to classify, we have 3 level of hanger issues. We have the emergency one, most of which we've gotten done. Then we have those that are rotting, but they're not unusable
Emergency.
yet. Those we're going to deal with because they're rotting. And then we have the last group that are fine, that will stay exactly as they are.
Okay, so this is.
He went through and counted them all,
Okay.
and that's the total,
Okay,
some of which we've already had done.
I think this is wonderful.
I do too.
Thank you very much.
I think
Thank you
what
very
this board
much.
has done is absolutely outstanding.
Well, thank you, Sam. We appreciate that. And we appreciate the work that AR Choice has done on this, because they've done a tremendous amount of work on this. And then Ann, in terms of treasure and working out the numbers and getting them as fine-tuned as she can get them, is much appreciated.
I have a question on this.
Yeah.
That's a little bigger than I was
The Kula,
That was the one that was approved.
we had approved that in
That
a
was
prior
Stroh,
meeting.
Dan Stroh.
For 10,000?
Yep.
For both of them?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you pretty good?
I think what you're probably thinking of, John, is that proposal had a bunch of things on it. It had the cupolas, it had the guardhouse, and so that's just the cupolas. Okay, the guardhouse we felt was our regular maintenance number, and so we put that back to 8.
Okay.
Okay, any questions there? Yes, Marie?
On the page back here, we approximate quote. My unit, for example, is not listed on here. Are you not charging me? That's
Actually, that was an error, I apologize.
You're the 24.
You're an E unit,
I'm an A unit?
you're an E unit.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're right below me. As a matter of fact,
Oh,
I see what you did, 2014-2017.
Oh, that's what the program.
So you're there too, Marie. You're 114-117. So your 116 comes in that line there. I didn't see the dash either. You and I were getting off the hook. Where is it? Oh, that's right here. They missed that. Oh, and so hers wasn't listed, but neither is mine. We'll go out for dinner on those days.
Excuse me, is this a month, a quarterly assessment, or is this just one time?
This is a one-time. And are you doing, it's July, right? We're gonna send the bills out in July?
If there's a cash flow issue, we can probably spread it over 3 months. That would be July, August, and September if it were necessary, but we're going to request a one-time payment except when there are extenuating circumstances. So should you need to spread it over 3 months, you simply need to let the board know.
And the other thing is on the page prior to that, there is a note that says if we do not expend all these dollars, they will come back. We're not putting them someplace else. Anything that is not expended will be returned to the owners in the proportionate share that they were charged for it.
I just want to ask, you said that we want to maintain the shrubs around the building at the height of the wall.
Around the garage,
Around the
yes.
garage, right. For my unit, when I look outside, I see all the dirt behind the shrubs, underneath the building, on both, 2 or 3 sides.
Are you talking about the plants going up against the wall?
No, she's talking about underneath the building.
Along the wall, around the garage, or,
Yeah.
Behind the shrubs or in front?
excuse me,
Behind,
behind the shrubs are planted in front of the garage.
Yes.
We can't plant them any closer because it would undermine the cement structure.
Right, we were told to put air in there, so we did trim those recently to let air flow.
I'm just wondering if it would be possible to put chips, wood chips or something down in there, just so
We
you don't
don't
see
have the
dirt.
budget this year. We're overexpended on landscape.
Okay, well, that's something we'll have to look at and to put into budget for next year. But that, is something the committee should put forward as a recommendation to the board. And then if we find the dollars,
Maybe some year, okay.
yeah. You know what the problem was this year, Marie? There really is very little flexibility in our budget this year because we had to expend money after Irma that we had not planned on. And we borrowed money from all different places to make sure that we could fix what we could. And so it's very tight.
Yeah.
Hopefully when we go into next year, if we use the, process that Ian is recommending we use, hopefully we won't be as tight, we'll be accurate, and hopefully we'll start building reserves for some of this.
Well, I was just wondering if that's a possibility in the future if necessary, but
Yeah.
it would certainly improve the aesthetics, I think.
I agree. Okay. All right, so do we need to do a motion on,
You need to do a
Yes, we need
motion
to
on,
approve the assessment.
on the assessment?
on the assessment, and then we need to approve these, so we can get their work on.
Okay, I approve the assessment as presented. Anybody going to second that?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, and what do you have left there?
Okay, you need to approve the remaining hangars to be,
Isn't that approved as part of the
And then
assessment?
we have to approve.
you have to approve these prices, yeah. So Florida Fire and Backflow
Yeah.
for $5,466.
Okay, I move to approve Florida Fire and Backflow.
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
So that payment is in addition to what appears?
No, that is what's here.
So this is the approval of the assessment, and now is the approval of the contract.
Okay, and then we had two prices for the work at 209 and 113, one from Waterfront Services, 17607, and Structure Con 16853. So I'm assuming it's Structure Con.
Well, let's not make that assumption. In terms of CSM, do they have a preference of one over the other for?
Yes, they said the Structure Con would get it done much more quickly for one.
Well,
But he
then
has no,
then I'm going to move that we go for structure com because these guys have been waiting 2 months.
that's why I wanted to approve.
And we're talking about less than $1,000, less than $100. So let's get their place done.
Okay, so you made a
Okay, so
motion.
I move that we go with structure com. Anybody want to second that?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we go, Jack.
Okay. Chad, that'll allow you to start.
I will find
Anything else on that list you have, Christine?
No, that was just the two most important things with that going on.
Okay, before we adjourn, I need to let everybody know that the association, and when I'm speaking association, I'm speaking about all of us as owners, and specifically the 5 of us on the board. We have been served with a request for arbitration by 2 of our owners who have decided that they are uncomfortable with the way the board is running the association, and they're also uncomfortable with our interpretation as well as our attorney's interpretation of Section 16 of our declaration. What Section 16 says, and they're making the claim that that was changed in the amended declaration of 2008, it has never been changed. And that'll come out as we move forward with this action. But what they're saying is that, that the association has always required a 66 2/3 level of voting for anything that gets done at the Victoria. And we disagree with that. We believe that we are going to prevail in this. We are asking that our attorney's fees be replaced if we do prevail. But it's public information at this point that this action has been brought. There's nothing secret about it, because as I said, it's public information. I brought it with me, as you can see. It's quite extensive. And we're working on our response to it. We're working with Jane Cornett on getting that done because we feel that she's going to be the least expensive because she's most familiar with our association. Anybody is allowed to look at this anytime they'd like. I'm more than happy to let you take it overnight or anything like that, whatever you'd like to do. And I can be public, the two owners are Lynn Larkin and Jake Ruttman. And they brought the action, and please understand, they have every right to do what they're doing. They're uncomfortable about something, they have every right to say so. I would have preferred we handled it differently than this kind of a thing because this is incurring legal fees for the entire association, including themselves. But they have every right to do it. I don't agree with it, nobody on the board agrees with it, but then again, we're the ones that they're saying they're unhappy with, so of course we're going to say that.
Weren't they on the board themselves at one time? Why did they change it then?
Well, they were on the board at previous times, and some of the things that they have alleged happened actually during the time that they were on the board. But all that will come out in our response, which is not yet public. But when it becomes public, it will all be shared. It's a sad situation for us as a community.
Yes.
And that's the part that just really, gets to my heart.
Me too.
And, people have to understand, when you're on the board here, it's a fleeting time period. You're voted in for a year. You're a unit owner for as long as you live here. So we're unit owners long before we're board members. And, we have the same concerns that they have. Everybody has those same concerns. To be sure that this place is being run to the best of the ability of all of us as owners. The only reason why we're sitting here is so that you all don't have to do it. Next year, I'll be sitting there, and somebody else will be sitting here. But seriously, this is a volunteer job. It rotates all the time. For them to accuse us of things that really, it's just part and parcel of running a association, it does hurt. It does hurt. But also understand they have every right to do it.
Do we have any idea how much it might cost, the legal costs?
No, we don't, because we don't know how long it will continue. We don't know how long it will prevail. I can tell you, because this is public, they first applied in February. The state turned it down and returned the documents to them, and they redid them and then submitted it again. So we do know.
We'll be asking for reimbursement from them of our attorney's fees, should we prevail.
Right.
And we believe we will prevail.
But also realize the state, we all know, we've dealt with stuff and you read it in the paper. The state's never big on saying you can't do this and you can do that. That's really not what they want to do. What they're really doing is they'll take a look at this and they'll take a look at our response and then they'll say whether or not they're going to okay them to proceed to litigation. This is a requirement before they're allowed to go to litigation. So that's what they've done, is they've asked for arbitration. The arbitrator will see, are the two parties too far apart or can they come together? And that will be the next step, and we will report back on all of that. And at that point, then they'll make a decision as to whether or not we can agree to work together, and if we can't, they will then have the right to bring a lawsuit. We're not at that stage yet. Hopefully, we won't get to that stage. Okay.
I could be mistaken, but I think what you just stated sounds more like mediation. I thought when you go to arbitration, a third party does decide this one is right or this one's wrong. If the plaintiffs disagree, then they can take it further and sue us.
Well, no, this is non-binding arbitration. What you're thinking of is binding arbitration.
Okay.
And that is not what the state does in this case. This is the group that takes a look at the law, and specifically Section 718, the condominium association laws. And really what they do is they take a look at it and say, whether or not what the petitioners, who are Lynn and Jay, what they've brought up, are they correct with what they've brought up, or are they not correct? And they will tell them that. And then they'll tell us whether or not we're correct in what we believe the interpretation is of Section 16, or whether we're not. But they won't say, you are right and you are wrong. What they'll say is, here's where your points are, and here's what we think you guys ought to be doing, and then we have the right to either agree to do that, or the right to say, no, we don't agree to that. Then they have the right to say, okay, we listened to you guys at the state level and we agree with what you've just said, or we don't agree with what you said. And then they would have to say, we would like the right to go ahead to litigation, and the state has to grant them that right.
Okay. Understood.
Who's representing us?
Jane Cornett, who's been our attorney for over 10 years.
Isn't she the same person that he's accusing of misinterpreting the rules?
Yes.
Does that
Yes.
seem like a conflict of interest?
No, he's not accusing her of anything. He's accusing us of misinterpreting the rules.
Didn't you get your information from her?
Yes, we did. But that's still allowed. She's defending us, which is really what we want, because she's got firsthand knowledge of how this all came about. She was involved in the whole amended declaration. Section 16 was never touched. The stuff that got amended at the time that they amended the declaration was to pull out all the stuff that the developer had the right to do and to put everything over to the unit owners. So that's really what the difference is. And Jane Cornett has...
Someone else is representing, it's not Jane.
She's not.
Take a look at, take a
Someone else from the office.
If someone else.
No, if you take a look, both of their names are on it, both of them. She is our counselor, he is our litigator. She is not a litigation attorney, she's a counselor, so both of their names are on the response.
So our litigator
Okay.
is not Jane. We have an alternative polyglot.
We can't hear you.
Our litigator is not Jane, it's Stuart somebody, I can't remember Stuart's last name. Jane is our counsel. So we have a litigator that will be meeting with the state that will not be Jane.
Okay, any other questions?
I don't have a question. I have a comment on something else.
Okay,
New subject.
new subject.
For your information, I'll post this as well. The Florida Department of Transportation is going to conduct a public information workshop regarding A1A project from north of Tides Road, that's in Verbier. I think Tides Road is down near the Village Market. Going south, from south to Cocoa Beach. Cocoa Plum Lane near Wabasso Beach. That's like the end of Disney, up at the end there. It's like 6.74 miles. They're going to resurface A1A starting in July of 2000, or summer of 2019, and hope to finish in summer of 2020.
Now, put in sidewalks.
What they're going to do is, besides the resurfacing, they're going to put in 6-foot wide concrete sidewalk along the east side of our A1A. So they're going to put a sidewalk on our side of the road now. I'm not sure how that's going to interfere with the plannings that we just did. So, and they're going to do some drainage improvements and so forth. So they say a year, whatever.
Give or take.
Yeah, so there's a workshop on July 10th from 9 to 11 o'clock over at the Indian River Shores Council Chambers if you'd like to attend and hear something more about it. So I'll post this on the board.
Okay, anything else?
I move that we adjourn.
I second that. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and I want to thank all of you. Look, if you look at your watches, it's about 11:15. Miracle?
You did good.
Miracle?
I thought it was gonna be a lot longer.
I did too.
I have to say,
Ryan, thank you very much.
Don't let it go in your head.
Okay, and